the devil's chosen one. Not all men are created equal. It makes sense, considering a world where 80% of humanity has superpowers is the general norm. In this world, superheroes and supervillains, once something only seen in comics, were now as real as can be, with epic battles of good and evil commencing on the streets almost every day. In a world like this, many people aspire to be heroes with their quirks. However, there are those who have quirks that just aren't suited for the task, and those who don't even have quirks at all. Izuku Midoriya fell into the latter category. It had been a terrible day for the poor boy to learn he was part of the unlucky 20%. His mother Inko, bless her heart, did her best to support him, especially with the recent death of his father, Hisashi. However, in a world of superpowers, those without were often mocked and ridiculed by those that did. The poor young lad was sitting by himself at lunch that day. While his mom had packed him a bento with his favorite food, katsudon, he decided to get something from the cafeteria, finding a rather pretty-looking fruit that was all the colors of the rainbow and had spirals on it. Lunch was a quiet affair, but when Izuku bit into the fruit, he gagged. It tasted rancid, like cardboard covered in raw sewage. Quickly drowning out the taste with milk, Izuku went through the rest of the day as normal, trying his best to ignore the teasing words from his peers and be picked up by his mom. Little Izuku had no idea how much his life was going to change. When he went to sleep that night, Izuku started having weird visions. In them, he saw men and women harnessing powers that could rival even the strongest quirks, such as manipulating the elements, turning into fantastic beasts, and even shattering the air with their fists. After waking up, Izuku hurried over to his computer to look up the people he saw in his dreams. However, no matter where he searched, it all came up empty. Despite not finding anything explaining his weird dreams, Izuku couldn't help but feel excited for some reason. Little did he realize just how meaningful those dreams were. "Stop it, Kachin. You're being mean." Izuku was bravely standing in the defense of another boy as he faced his former childhood friend turned bully, Katsuki Bakugu. "Oi, the quirkless wonder thinks he can be a hero?" Katsuki scoffed, backed up by two other boys, one who could extend his fingers and one with red bat-like wings. "I won't let you hurt him, Kachin. Bullying people is not what heroes do. You're acting like a villain." Izuku snapped back. Unfortunately, those words only led to infuriate Katsuki, who lunged forward with his palms, sparking with small explosions. "Dai DKU." Izuku closed his eyes and crossed his arms, expecting pain to hit him only for nothing to happen. Slowly peeking one eye open, he saw something that amazed him. A tall rectangular clear barrier had manifested, seemingly out of nowhere, and absorbed Katsuki's explosion and redirected the shockwave back at the blonde, launching him back and knocking him unconscious. "Whoa, that's so cool," the boy he was protecting said in amazement. "Did I just get my quirk?" Izuku thought, continuing to stare in wonder at what he had created. Elsewhere, an old man was out grocery shopping when he felt something in the air and smirked, his interest having piqued as he had not sensed something like in years. Inko was nervously waiting for the doctors to finish checking up on Izuku. She and her best friend Mitsuki, Katsuki's mother, had been talking at the park when they heard a cry for help. They saw Izuku defending another boy and Katsuki unconscious on the ground, as well as some kind of barrier wall in front of Izuku. When questioned, Katsuki's cronies tried pinning the whole thing on Izuku, but just one critical look from Mitsuki and they caved in, confessing to everything. Inko tried to apologize for what happened, but Mitsuki laughed it off, assuring her friend there was no harm done, and dragged Katsuki off to give him a suitable punishment. After 2 whole hours, the doctor soon came out, and Inko quickly stood up. "How is he, doctor? Did you find out what his quirk was?" "Here's the thing, Mrs. Midoriya. I don't think this is a quirk," the doctor said honestly. Inko was confused as the doctor led her into the room Izuku was in. The boy quickly hugged his mother as she turned to the doctor. "Doctor, what do you mean? I thought he had some kind of barrier quirk." "Believe me, so did we. But from the test we took, your son has no quirk factor, but something else entirely. Something bizarre. I don't understand. How bizarre are we talking about? Inko asked, worriedly hugging Izuku closer. It means the brat has the spirit of the devil inside him. Inko and the doctor turned, and their jaws dropped at who they saw. He was an old man, yet a tall and muscular body with tan skin. He had round glasses, a scar over his right eye, and facial hair arranged and battled across his lower jaw. This was Silver's the Dark King Rayleigh, the former #2 pro hero of Japan and the former sidekick to the former #1 pro hero, Joel D. Roger. Mr. Rayleigh, it's an honor to see you visit us. The doctor humbly said, bowing. What brings you here? That boy doesn't have a quirk, yes? But something different, Rayleigh questioned rhetorically as he squatted down to Izuku's eye level. Tell me, Sonny, did you happen to eat a strange fruit? Izuku nodded. Yeah, it tasted gross, but it looked really pretty, though. Rayleigh chuckled and ruffled the boy's head. That there was the fruit of the devil, a fruit said to hold all the powers of a whole other world. A whole other world? Inko questioned as Rayleigh stood up to address her. To make a long story short, your son has all the powers of every warrior who ever used a devil fruit in that world. Also, if I'm correct, he has a basic understanding of how each and every power works. Izuku closed his eyes and realized Rayleigh was right. He could recall an encyclopedia's worth of powers in his brain and how to use every single one. But how did you know about what happened to the boy? The doctor asked curiously. Rayleigh smirked. You see, my quirk is potential sense. I can sense the potential of any individual and how to bring it out. I sensed little Izuku's potential exploding outward and went to investigate. I theorized the reason was that he had found the fruit of the devil, and when I overheard you talking, my hunch was proven. That would explain the results we got from the tests. The doctor realized as he took out a tablet and showed it to Inko, whose eyes widened at what she saw. The results showed simulations of what Izuku was capable of, ranging from manipulating poison to transforming into a giant gold Buddha to creating a dome of spatial energy that allowed him to manipulate anything within it, like performing surgery. Rayleigh smirked as he also saw the simulations and put a hand on Izuku's shoulder. My boy, how would you like to become my apprentice? Something tells me you'll need someone to show you the ropes on these things. Izuku's eyes sparkled with excitement. He could get the chance to train with an actual pro hero. Turning to his mom, Izuku's eyes were just begging her to let him accept Rayleigh's offer. Inko was rather unsure of all this, but saw the sincerity in Rayleigh's eyes and just how happy her little boy was. Finally, she relented and nodded her head. An excellent decision, Mrs. Midoriya. Rayleigh sighed as he turned to Izuku. Now, kiddo, I'm not going to gloss anything over. This training I'm going to put you through will be hell on earth. Are you willing to push through to reach your dreams? Rayleigh saw the determination flash in Izuku's eyes and the furrow of his brow, and knew right then and there that this kid definitely had what it took. Yes, I will, Rayleigh-sensei. I'll never stop reaching for my dreams. And on that day, for better or for worse, the world would change. Chapter 2. Beginning of Canon. It has been 10 years since Izuku Midoriya ate the fruit of the devil and was taken in as Silver's Rayleigh's apprentice. The old hero was right in that the training would be absolutely hellish, but Izuku persevered through it all, growing stronger each passing day. And now, we begin our story in earnest. Izuku, now currently in his last year of junior high, was walking to school while looking over the notes he had made in his journal, which he usually filled with analysis on various pro-heroes and even villains. Hey, Izuku. Izuku perked up and turned to smile when he saw one of the friends he had managed to make in his 10 years of training, Hilda Yasukani. Hilda was a girl with pale white skin, dark brown hair tied in a ponytail, and wearing a white and pink hat with a pink circle on it. She and Izuku had met a few years ago when Izuku enlisted in one of the dojos that Rayleigh had connections to in order to further his training. Hilda was one of the students at the dojo, and the two quickly hit it off together. Hey Hilda, what's up? Nothing much. Are you heading to school? Let's walk together. The two friends began talking about recent events and the latest news about their favorite pro-heroes when they noticed a commotion going on and looked to see a villain with a gigantification quirk rampaging through the city, and already heroes were on the scene. The first one to arrive was Death Arms, who possessed the quirk, Mighty Arms, which granted him incredible strength and let him catch a falling radio tower the giant villain had knocked over. Helping to keep civilians out of the line of fire was Backdraft, a rescue hero whose quirk, Water Pump, could create an endless supply of water from the spigots growing from his hands and manipulate that water at will. Some of the people noted that the giant villain was just an amateur purse thief who got cornered, and it wasn't long before they found out by whom. Two heroes leaped down, one looking something like a delinquent, and the other looking like he was wearing wood for armor. The former was Metal Bat, and he had the quirk, Iron Will. This granted him an indomitable will and superhuman physical characteristics. The latter was Kimui Woods, with his quirk, Arbor, a simpler quirk that let him generate and control wood. The duo leaped at the giant villain, who swung his arm to try and swat them away while spouting the usual threats. "How thick do you think his skin is at this size?" Metal Bat asked. "Thick enough that anti-tank rifles would be hard-pressed to pierce it," Kimui Woods suggested. "But I have a feeling he'd still feel the pain. All I need to know." Metal Bat smirked as he lunged forward. Bad Rush. With great speed, he struck the villain over and over again. The giant barely managed to put up a guard as he winced at the multiple heavy impacts against him. "Nice work, Bat," Kimui Woods called out as he ran along the train bridge. "Just keep him busy a little longer." After getting into position, Kimui Woods extended his fingers into wooden tendrils that wrapped around the villain's limbs. "You're charged with assault, robbery, and illegal use of superpowers. Lacquered chain prison." Metal Bat jumped down to join his partner before noticing something out of the corner of his eye. "Looks like we're not the only ones coming. Heads up." Kimui Woods noticed as well and sighed, seeing a large young woman in a skin-tight leotard, a few feet taller than the giant villain, leaping in Kamen Rider style. Canyon Cannon. She immediately drop-kicked the giant villain, knocking him off the bridge. Cameramen suddenly appeared in droves, trying to get a picture as the attractive woman was bent over while tying up the perp. Piece of cake for the world's hottest new superhero. "Hello there, everyone. I'm Mount Lady." The new heroine introduced herself with a wink. "You won't have to worry about this bum anymore." As Mount Lady began to shrink to normal size, Hilda noticed Izuku muttering to himself while writing in his notebook, making her chuckle. Same old Izuku. The two friends were third years at Alder Junior High. "All right, you brats. You're all third years now, so you need to start thinking about your futures," the teacher said before smirking. "But what the heck am I saying? You all want to be heroes, don't ya?" With a flourish, he tossed the papers into the air. Everyone except Izuku, Hilda, and a few others replied excitedly with a shout and showed off their quirks, some subtle and some not so subtle. Okay, settle down," the teacher chided. "I know you're all excited, but first you need to understand the core values of what makes a hero. Midoriya, would you care to give a demonstration?" "A willingness to do what is right and the ability to use your power in a way that can help people," Izuku answered. The teacher nodded. "Very good. See, most people these days tend to pursue a life of heroics for fame and fortune. Now, I'm not saying one shouldn't seek a comfortable life for themselves, but it's important to remember what truly makes a hero. Oi, teach. Don't lump me with these losers." Katsuki Bakugo barked with a derisive laugh, his feet on his desk, as if any of them are within my league with their shitty quirks. Izuku sighed. Even after all these years, Katsuki's ego and temper had not gone down. Hilda just scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Ah, yes, Bakugo, if I remember correctly, you're applying for UA High School, right?" the teacher said as he glanced down at his clipboard. The students began chattering in shock and admiration at this news. "At that high school? I heard the cutoff score for this year was 79. Their acceptance rates are very low. The cutoff score is always getting higher and higher. Not only is it the top national school, but I heard their entrance examination is so harsh that a lot of applicants were injured. That's why all you chatterboxes are all extras." Katsuki grinned as he leaped onto his desk from his chair in one fluid motion. "I'm the only one who's got what it takes to get into UA. I'll surpass All Might as the top hero and become the best hero in history." Ah yes, Midoriya is also applying as well. The teacher noted, as well as Yakasani. Hilda smiled proudly. She didn't have a very strong quirk, just one that kept her in a perfect state of health, but she was trained in martial arts, and Izuku had even helped train with her as well. Deku. Izuku sighed as Katsuki threw himself at him, explosions at the ready, and was promptly slammed into the ground by Hilda, knocking him unconscious. Sheesh, will you ever learn? It's his decision to apply there, not yours. The teacher just sighed, having gotten used to this. At first, he tried to stop it, but eventually gave up and considered it part of daily life. Thief! Somebody stop him. A villain whose quirk allowed him to turn his body into sludge was running from a local store, cash stuffed into his body. Quickly running him was Super Alloy Dark Shine, whose quirk, Shining Strength, gave him superhuman physical characteristics and skin that was both unbreakable and naturally shiny. As the chase occurred, another figure, a blonde-haired skeleton of a man, came out of a convenience store and spotted the chase. Might want to help him out. He focused, and in a burst of smoke, his body began changing into a more muscular form. Man, it's like there's no stopping these villains. A guy on the street said as he saw the chase. Yes, there is. Came a booming voice as everyone turned. Yes, there is. Came a booming voice as everyone turned and smiled in delight at who they saw. Because I am here, Izuku hummed to himself as he put the finishing touches on his 13th analysis journal for heroes. Hilda had gone off to hang out with some of her girl pals, and Izuku figured he could go see Rayleigh and get some early training in. As he passed through a tunnel, he suddenly heard a gurgling sound and turned around to see the sludge villain coming out of a manhole. A medium-sized invisibility cloak to capture. Izuku narrowed his eyes as the sludge villain moved to attack only to turn into pure electricity with the rumble fruit. As soon as the sludge made contact, the villain's whole body was electrocuted, causing him to scream in agony before melting into a barely moving puddle. Hope nobody gives me a ticket for that. I'm sure self-defense will let him by. Izuku noted before the manhole cover flew off and a large figure jumped out. Have no fear, for I am here. Izuku's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. Even without the costume, he recognized the blonde muscle man. Holy crap, All Might! Indeed, the #1 pro hero of Japan and symbol of peace, All Might, was there in the flesh. However, his bombastic entrance faltered slightly when he saw the sludge villain already down for the count. Oh, what happened here? Sorry, All Might. He tried to attack me, and I used my power to defend myself. Izuku apologized. No harm done, young man. Using quirks in self-defense is perfectly acceptable. Now Izuku got excited. Oh man, I can't believe I'm meeting you for real. You're my favorite hero. Can I have your autograph? All Might laughed with his booming voice and smile, while Izuku blushed before giving him his notebook. As the symbol of peace took it, he noticed the title. Future Hero Analysis, Volume 13? Mind if I take a look? Yes, of course, babbled Izuku. As All Might flipped through the pages, his eyes widened in amazement at what he saw. Everything was articulately detailed, especially for Mount Lady. Just a few hours after debut, Izuku had already analyzed her quirk, estimation of how tall she grew, how many seconds it took to grow and shrink, and even a small stats chart. My goodness, these notes are very detailed. I shudder to think if a villain managed to get these. And there's 12 more of these. Izuku blushed in embarrassment. Do not worry, All Might. A friend of mine took some precautions to make sure they don't fall into any villainous hands. Finding an empty page, All Might signed the notebook, filling the whole 2 pages himself. He handed it back to Izuku, taking time to memorize the boy's name. He was sure this boy would become a truly worthy hero if he was this dedicated to his studies. Thank you so much for this, Izuku said, bowing in gratitude. All Might gave a thumbs up, taking the time to scoop up the sludge villain into an empty soda bottle before putting it in his pocket. Well, I should get this evildoer over to the proper authorities. You stay out of trouble now. With that, All Might took a giant leap into the sky, quickly disappearing from Izuku's view. Due to the speed as well as his hastiness to leave, he didn't notice the soda bottle slipping out of his pockets, but Izuku sure did. Oh no! He dropped it, quickly running over to catch the bottle. Izuku closed his eyes as he did his best to discern All Might's location using a special spiritual force known as Haki. Haki could be harnessed by all living beings with the right training and came in 3 forms. Thanks to Rayleigh's training, Izuku had managed to unlock all 3 forms of Haki, which he incorporated into his devil fruits to increase their already formidable powers. Soon closing in on All Might's signature, Izuku became confused when he saw how weak he was. Concerned for his hero, Izuku used the float fruit to lift off into the air and go in the direction of where All Might went. Damn it, I can't believe I dropped it. All Might cursed internally as he landed on a nearby rooftop when he realized the bottle wasn't on him. I really am getting old if I'm making such a rookie mistake. All Might, you dropped this. Spinning around, the symbol of peace saw Izuku touch down on the rooftop, the bottle containing the sludge villain safely in his hands. A wave of relief washed over the number 1 pro hero as he took it gratefully. If you really wanted a day to hang out, you could have just asked. I'm not too busy today. Izuku giggled bashfully. Yeah, sorry about that. I just thought it would be bad if you ended up losing the villain. Suddenly, All Might winced as he clutched at his side, smoke slowly pouring off of him as Izuku's eyes widened in panic. All Might, are you okay? At my limit. Suddenly, in a puff of smoke, Izuku gasped when he saw All Might shrink down into the skeletal man he had been earlier. Sorry about that, he said tiredly, his voice now a much more normal tone. I guess I have some explaining to do, huh?